Okay, good people. Karibuni tena kwa ibada ya mafunzo ya Biblia Alhamisi. Alhamisi is Thursday. So for the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with the whole issue of healing. One, because we thought we take advantage of this electioneering period. As you know, clearly, our elections are normally quite divisive, and our consumption of politics, this part of the world, is inordinately unhealthy. So sometimes when um, results come, people are hurt a little deep. We said we take advantage, and then we expand it to our own personal losses. Okay, so basically what we've been doing is just take advantage of the fact that a couple of people, a couple of us, didn't get what we thought we wanted from the elections. People maybe wanted to win from the presidential to the MCA, speaker, senator. Oh, sorry, okay, speaker. Speaker happened right a few minutes ago. Speaker, senator, MPs, governor, what have you. But we still have to find our way back. Okay, so we said that we're going to take a couple of Thursdays, even Sundays, and essentially just deal with the whole issue of personal loss. Okay, and we have been saying this that it is not easy. It's not easy to deal with loss or deal with disappointment. Okay, one, because we need to be hopeful. It's okay to be hopeful, and when hope is dashed, clearly it has its own ramifications, and it affects us. It affects us mentally, it affects us physically. Okay, those two always go together. It affects us, physically, but much more emotionally. So we've done a couple of things. Those of us who have been following our sharing from the time we started, we've moved from one thing to the next. So today I'm going to use notes which are not exactly my own, and some of you probably have seen these notes shared by me somewhere else. Maybe a number of you haven't seen these notes. So again, I will just share them verbatim. The person who came up with these notes is a gentleman called Sam Vaknin. Sam Vaknin is one of the few geniuses in our day, and he's famed for I think his talks on matters narcissism, okay, and how to deal with the whole issue of narcissism. And he did something as a New Year resolution, and I thought the things which he said are very good. A couple of points which he put out there are very good in helping us heal or even just manage disappointments, and the whole issue of self-care, and just managing expectations and boundaries and what have you. So I'll go through them and maybe you can jolt them somewhere, and I'm sure it's going to be useful and helpful. Okay. So there's a time I remember before I even move into these points, proper. I taught on the topic of rules, and I can't remember who said this. So somebody said many years back, any fool can make a rule, and any fool will mind it. Um, Rules govern our lives. Rule are the ultimate jury and judge of how we feel emotionally. Um, if you make rules that are very difficult to sustain or to meet, for that matter, you'll always be feeling unhappy and be feeling emotionally distressed. Well, probably it's because you went too far with those rules. The expectations are a little bit difficult to meet, as it were. So we need to make rules, and I think I mentioned this some time back. One, we need to make rules that make it easy for us to grow. Where we leave a provision for growth. I'm not there yet. So I can't make rules which are very perfectionist in nature. Okay. We need to make rules, number two, that make it easy for us to enjoy life. Okay. We also need to make rules that make it easy for us to change. Okay. Um, so we don't make rules. So, for example, can you imagine if I made a rule at the beginning of the year that said I will not fail? Okay. I'll be distressed. I'll be constantly be distressed because chances are things, are not going to go my way. And not because necessarily I'm a bad person, but because there are other factors that are beyond me. I need to factor all those things. Okay. Say I made a rule that says I should never be frustrated. I mean, how possible is it? I mean, people frustrate you. Sometimes people don't meet the end of the bargain, etc., etc. Or I will never get angry. Okay, so we need to make rules that factor issues of change, of growth, of enjoyment, etc., etc., so that we can be able to manage our expectations properly. And so I thought whatever this gentleman spoke is useful, and I'm just going to share with you. Normally, what I do when I read something or something like that, I try to write it down. So even if I need to, refer to it, I can always find it somewhere. So this is what the man was saying, and he was speaking about a New Year resolutions, and he said number one point of the New Year resolution, maybe we can say New Year resolution starting today. Okay, okay. He said, I will treat myself with dignity and demand respect from others. I will not allow anyone to disrespect me. Now that's strong. But I believe it's a good principle and a good rule. Okay. I will treat myself with dignity. And then I'm going to demand respect from others. Okay. Respect, or disrespect is when somebody offends you knowingly. That's disrespect. Somebody offends you knowingly. I will treat myself with dignity. I will carry myself with a sense of pride in a good way. I will dignify myself. And then I'm going to demand from others to respect and demand respect from others so that if somebody say belittles you or whatever it is, you will be able to say, hey, look, um, I don't do that. Um, don't call me at that time, for example. Don't refer to me that way. Um, etc. etc. We need to teach people how to treat us. We need to teach people how to treat us. People need to know what are the no-nos of our lives. Where are our inner sanctums? Those holy of holies where few people enter. What are the things that are sacred to you? For example, I mean, your wife or your husband could be so sacred to you, and that you don't want really people to just, mess, her around. Or maybe your children, maybe your work, maybe the environment where you work. It's such sacrosanct, very important space for you, and you demand the people to treat it with that level of respect. We need to teach people how to treat us. Sometimes we blame people for doing stuff to us. Well, to be very honest, we really haven't given them clear, cogent, you know, um, instructions on how we want to be treated. I will not allow anyone to disrespect me. Let me throw a right down that one. People will disrespect you. Let me be clear. But this is what you need to realize. If a person disrespects you twice, then it means the second time you permitted it. If I'm saying, somebody can disrespect you because probably they have met you the first time. And you know what they say? First impressions have got no second chances. Okay. Um, if at the point somebody comes into your life and they start doing something, and then you say, "Excuse me, you don't call me that way, you don't refer to me that way, you handle my time this way, you handle my, whatever it is, in a particular way," and then they do it again, and you take it, then the problem is you. Because at the point when somebody disrespects you once, the second point they come your way, we need to start learning to cut ties. I know the questions that come would be, what about it's your boss, it's somebody who, and stuff like that. And those things have their place. Let me put it that way. um, there are a couple of ways you can deal with people who are coming to you in an one. You can choose what is the one I'm looking for. There are things which matter to you so much that you are willing to pay the price to protect them. And it is not my duty to tell you those things. Okay, everybody has those things which you say, this is not worth. um it is not worth. It is not worth meat. I can't take this. The price. What's what I'm looking for? Um, you are willing to pay whatever price, okay, including entertaining the absence of that person moving forward, than accommodating their disrespect. You know what I'm saying? That you are willing to entertain their absence moving forward, rather than to accommodate that level of disrespect. So these are very personal things. And again, like I mentioned, these are rules we make. Some people may think, oh, I was reading something the other day. I think they call it, and Moss will check it out for me. There's something they call it what? It has a name. Is it a Stockholm Syndrome? Stockholm Syndrome, where, and I think it came from that one, and you'll confirm it for me if it's Stockholm Syndrome, that there are people who um, identify, you found it?
Coping mechanism to captivate or abuse.
Yeah, it's a way of it's a way of dealing with, it's a way of appreciating an abuser, because he's so nasty when he does something small. So, for example, somebody has abducted you, okay, and they have been torturing you. Then one day they let you walk out and enjoy the sun, and you find people identifying with that rather than with somebody who wants to free them. Let me read it for you. The Stockholm Syndrome is a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time. The condition applies to situations including child abuse, coach athlete abuse, relationship abuse, and sex trafficking. So the person is, let me see if I can get another one. It's a condition which hostages develop a psychological bond with their captors during captivity. They develop a psychological bond with their captors during captivity. Okay, so it's a way of normalizing a bad thing. So you're so, somebody is so used to the torture and the abuse and everything else, that any small reprieve looks like a very big thing, and it's just a small reprieve. Okay, and so there's a couple of others explanations here. um same thing. Okay, so you can always have a look at it, but that condition does exist. But so what we're saying is that, and I'm picking this from this gentleman called Sam Buckning. I just liked what he said. I will treat myself with dignity and demand respect from others. So you define your no. You define your no-go zones. You define your no-fly zones. You define your no-fly zone. Okay, you don't pass here. This is my no-fly zone. Okay, you pass here. I shoot that plane. This is my no-fly zone. Um, these are my no. I mean, I can take only up to this far. Okay. Um, it could be your faith, for example. I mean, some of us, our faith means a lot to us. You come hard on me when it comes to matters of my faith. I'm going to take a stand. I mean, I'm going to take a very firm stand, because my faith is my life. My faith is my life. My family is my life. I mean, and so we have to define these things so that people, we teach people how to treat us and how to deal, with stuff. Um, so when he says, I will not let or allow anyone to disrespect me, it simply means I will not let you do this twice. Okay. The first time I never saw it coming. I could have put down my guard. I expected better, but then, it happened. Granted. But the second time, I'm going to be on my guard, and I'm willing to entertain your absence, moving forward, than accommodate that disrespect. Number two, this gentleman say that I will set clear boundaries. I like the words the way they are framed here. I will set clear boundaries and make known to others what I regard as permissible and acceptable behavior and what is out of bounds. More or less what I was explaining earlier. I will set clear boundaries. The other day, I sent something on our WhatsApp group. I've subscribed to some psychological. It's called Psychology Today, and they had done a beautiful piece just the other day, and I sent it to one of our groups on how to set boundaries without. Can I remember? Yeah, tips for setting boundaries without guilt. Okay. And the person says boundaries aren't selfish. Boundaries are good for your health and well-being, and they benefit those around you too. Okay. Sometimes we feel like, if I'm letting people, I'm making people uncomfortable and stuff like that. It's important that from the get-go, from the very outset, we set boundaries, not having to feel guilty. Okay. Boundaries strengthen relationship. For example, children feel safe and secure when their parents set clear boundaries, and intimate relationships and friendships um, feature fewer conflicts when both parties are clear about their needs and expectations. So, for example, say maybe one of my boundaries is I don't give out my car, for example. Okay, maybe I'm attached to my car or whatever it is. It's best for everybody, Ali. If I set that boundary clear, and I make everybody aware of it, so that you don't place your expectations and then I disappoint you at the same time. I don't have to start feeling funny, trying to explain myself. So just set boundaries and not feel guilty about it. It's you. Boundaries foster intimacy and connection because they create emotional safety, which allows us to be vulnerable. In addition, everyone benefits when you have more energy and the patience and less reactive and have fewer resentment as a result of setting boundaries. The other point is that setting boundaries is good for you. You are less likely to feel guilty if you remember that everyone has needs and that setting boundaries is a healthy way to meet yours. Okay, and it's a long one. I don't have to be kind to yourself, trying to take better care of yourself, and learn new skills is hard to work. So all these just beautiful points, which it will take me a while just to go through all them. But yeah, we need to set boundaries without having to feel guilty about it. Okay. So back to where we were earlier. So on number two, I will set clear boundaries and make known to others what I regard as permissible and acceptable behavior and what is out of bounds. Number three, I will not tolerate abuse and aggression in any form or guise. I will seek to terminate such misconduct instantly and unequivocally. Otherwise, I'm not going to be um, um, casual about it. I won't be nonchalant about it. Um, I won't be um, ambiguous about it. You will know clearly that I can't tolerate abuse. I deserve better. And any aggression, and we all need to agree on this one. There are things that are no. Aggression, abuse in any form or guise, we need to terminate such misconduct instantly and unequivocally. Why? Because eventually and inevitably, these things begin to prey on our minds and it affects people very permanently. We know people who have been injured mentally because they've gone through abuse for a very long time, you know, and they just kind of took it all in, and people are saying stuff, and they thought they can take it, and then one day they realize they can't take it. So you feel you can take it until you can't take it. Okay. Number four, the man says, and I like this a lot, I will be assertive. And I like the word assertive. Assertive is different from aggressive. Assertive is your way of making your view, your point clear and known without necessarily having to be brutal and nasty and abusive about it. So it's your way of saying no, for example, without having to um, be violent or 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 um, or um, show any aggression. I think that's the best I can put it. Okay, it's assertive. Um, I'm clear. This is me. This is what I want. I'm assertive, not aggressive. Aggressive is brutal. I'll be assertive and unambiguous. In other words, you don't have a problem to know where where I'm sitting on the in whatever side of the fence. I'll be assertive and unambiguous about my needs, wishes, and expectations from others. I will not be arrogant. Rather, I will be confident. And there's a difference. I will not be arrogant, proud, haughty or haughty. Okay. But I will be confident. I will not be selfish. I will love and care for myself. It's the least I deserve. I will love and I'll care for myself. This is personal healing and this is self care. Okay. I'll be assertive and unambiguous. I don't have to shout. I don't have to call somebody a bad name or whatever it is. I don't have to use expletives. Okay. I don't have to bang tables. I don't have to be violent in any way, but I'll be assertive. You know, I'll be assertive and unambiguous about my needs, my wishes, and expectation from others. And I think a lot of us, maybe because of the way we were socialized or raised up, we feel like we cannot pitch for ourselves. I don't know if that's a good way to look at it. We don't feel like we are deserving or worthy of love, worthy of respect. And sometimes we want to be at the very end of the pile, or bottom of the pile rather. Um, and sometimes we don't want to bring out our need, even when we are hurting. Um, and all that. And so, why don't we embrace this beautiful principle and this beautiful rule of being assertive and unambiguous about our needs? Okay, wishes and expectations from others. I will not be arrogant, but I will be confident. I will not be selfish, and I will not be selfish, but I will love and care for myself. Maybe it's somebody who you're working for, and you've done something for them, and you feel they need to pay you a little extra. Just raise your voice. Maybe that's all that they needed to hear, and maybe they're willing to pay that amount of money. Okay, and just be able to say it. Okay. Number 5, I will get to know myself better. I think this is important because a lot of us, and this has taken me a while, in my big age now, um, we know everything about everything and everybody else, but we don't do some deep dive on us, me, who am I? What is the metal I'm made of? Okay. So I've been out and about today, looking out for a car. And I've spent the day just, going under, looking at things and looking at chassis number, engine numbers, calling Wakili, doing searches. I mean, we try to know, you drive, you listen to the engine, you get a mechanic, and that has been my day the entire day today. Why? Because we want to know everything about but we also need to do I mean, we kept the car most of the time just opened up. We're looking at the engine. And when do we ever look and at the engine of our life, you know, and be able to do a fine tuning and you know a deep dive and say, where am I at present in my life? Who am I? What makes me tick? What tickles my fancy? What makes me happy? You know, And why am I not giving myself that, and stuff like that? And so I think it is important we all take pen and paper and just do a personal discovery test. Uh, there's a word like that. It's a personal discovery test. Okay, and say I don't like this or I like this. I'm a happy person. I'm sensitive on this. I get very and just do all those things. Do all those things. I saw a story today. I think it was in the news early in the morning. Um, so apparently, our new president, when he was in some school called Wareng, and he was clearing his O level, did a very big, and maybe you saw it in the news. I mean, he wrote a lot of stuff about himself, which is strangely, most of it is, it's nearly come to pass. And he was speaking about how he's going to achieve a lot of stuff. And he was saying, my Christian faith and hard work and this and how he loves literature. And it was a letter he did. He didn't send it. He wrote a letter to himself. I think you saw that thing. He wrote a letter to himself, and it was a lot of writing there, and they were reading it. And clearly the young man was self-conscious then about what he wanted and how he wanted to get there, and the tools that he thought he would need to get there, including and not limited to his faith, which he said was very important to the goals which he wanted to achieve. And it was being read in the news today, and somebody had picked that letter from that school where he did his O levels, and clearly it looks like he has followed his own personal plan, to success. Okay, so I will get to know myself better. What makes me tick? Okay, what are my strengths? Um, and stuff like that. Um, what makes me what refreshes me? Um, what refreshes me? So that I don't live somebody else's life. Okay, what are the things that nourishes me? you know so maybe spirituality nourishes you and you feel energized. Maybe relationships and friendships, and your social capital refreshes you, energizes you, and kind of gives you a kick. And maybe your own family, whatever it is, and just do a personal analysis of a personal deep dive, let's call it that way. Number 6, I will treat others as I want them to treat me. I will try to lead by way of self-example. And I think that's a self-explanatory, okay? That I will treat others as I want them to treat me. That is simply saying, look, I'm not just going to go out there, demanding from everybody, to treat me right and respect me and everything else. I'm also going to show people respect. And I'm also going to show people, you know, I'm going to be nice to people and good to people. Okay. I will treat others as I want them to treat me, and I will try to lead by way of example. A lot of time, and I've seen this a lot, people demand from others what they do not deposit. And life has it that you can only withdraw what you deposited. Okay, I think the scriptures say at some place, in some place rather, that he that wants friends need to show himself to be friendly. you know Favor begets favor. You show favor, other people will favor you. Okay. We had a funeral the other day. One of our members lost a mom, and he and we all have been beneficiaries of this man's magnanimity. And I was looking at the way people responded, and even when we went for the funeral, and it was amazing. It was amazing, the response and the outpouring of support, both in kind and also spiritual and emotional and all that. Why? Because the man has been there for all of us, including myself, in a very, 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 very big way. Okay. And so favor begets favor. We can't ask what we did not invest or sow into. Okay. So I will treat others as I want them to treat me, and then I will try to lead by way of self example. So so this week, and I don't want to, I know we are recording, so some of these things you never know how far they go. So we had now that which was happening on Saturday, and in the course of the week, somebody wanted me to do a favor for them. I didn't do the favor for them, not because I couldn't do the favor for them, but I didn't quite feel that they that what can I say? Um, I didn't feel that I needed to exert myself and expend myself all that for that particular person. You get what I'm saying? Yeah? I look for, let's call it a good excuse to step away because, to be very honest, they have been everything but good people, and especially in my direction. And so I kind of just did not um, meet them at the point where they want me to meet them. Number seven, if I am habitually disrespected, the word habitual, it's perpetually, constantly. If I am habitually disrespected, abused, or if my boundaries are ignored, okay, and breached, I will terminate the relationship with the abuser forthwith. I know this is difficult, and I'll tell you why it's difficult. Um, we've been taught as Christians to be patient. We've been taught as Christians to love people, and so sometimes when you say something to do with them, I will terminate the relationship. People don't, they don't see your Christianity. But I can tell you for free, it is as Christian as you can. And I'll give you an example. But first, let me finish this particular point. So, if I am habitually disrespected, abused, or if my boundaries are ignored and breached, I will terminate the relationship with the abuser forthwith. Zero tolerance and no second chance to that kind of a habitual disrespecter will be my maxim for self preservation. Will be my maxim for self preservation. So, this is now the catch 22. Again, like I was saying. And this is a contradiction, a factor, um, where people feel we're supposed to be patient, we're supposed to be loving, and we're supposed to allow people as many chances as possible. True, you want to allow somebody as many chances as possible. But one, you have to realize that, and this is very important, there are people who need a therapist. And while they are going through that therapy of self recovery from their abusive nature, it is not a must that they have to do it in your presence. Um, Listen, if a person hurts you and they hurt you unwittingly, they didn't like intend to do it. The fact of the matter is they have hurt you. Say, for example, somebody was wielding a sword in a room, little space, and they're wielding a sword, and they were all like crazy. Okay, you won't sit there and try and debate with them. You will walk away. You'll walk back. Because either they are doing it knowingly or unknowingly. The heart is the same. Sometimes we step away and allow them to change outside of our presence. Okay, you say things like, "Hey, look, I know you need help. I'm willing to offer that help, but if you do not change and continue to behave in the manner which you're behaving, you're abusing me, you are disrespectful, you're belittling me, you are berating me, you are doing all those things. Um, I am willing to step away and allow you to change without necessarily me being around there, being hurt. So it is important we agree as believers that there is nothing selfish about it. Because in fact, the better word is you will be protecting your own self-interest. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you're driving so close to where I am, and I've done this before, if somebody is driving so close and you can tell they're making you uncomfortable, they are hooting and they are nearly, next to your bumper, you indicate, you move away, and let them pass. And let them pass, because really you don't want that. You don't want that. They're getting into your nerves. You let them be. You let them be. Okay. People don't necessarily have to change in your presence. They can change outside of your presence. Um, You cannot be a rehabilitation center. I don't know if I'm making sense. There are people who quite definitely needs help. You can't be the rehabilitation center for people with who are ill-mannered, because that's exactly what it is, or poorly bred. Okay, let somebody who is qualified and maybe who is paid to do it, do it. Okay, let them do it. I mean, look. In the Bible, you have a man who is doing some crazy stuff. Okay, some crazy stuff, and Paul says, remove him from your presence. Remove that guy. Strong words are used. I don't even think I would even want to use them in my, in my own space. He says that man's soul need to be saved by committing his body to Satan. I mean, that is strong. That is strong. He says, let him go and face life. Let his body be punished. Okay? Let him suffer physically, and hopefully that will make him recover himself spiritually, and he will come back a better person. Okay? And there are no easy ways sometimes when you're dealing with people who have gone out on a limb to do all these crazy things people do. Okay, they go out of their way to make life very difficult for others, and that's why you find even in civilized society like our own, I mean, there are jails. I mean, jails are for what? It's to remove somebody from the community of men so that the behavior which they are doing, which is unpalatable, they don't have to do it because they are hurting other people. Okay. And so sometimes we do protect ourselves. When the Bible says words or uses words like, uh, uh, um, and I'm thinking of a couple found in different parts of the scripture, it says, come out from amongst them and be ye separate. What does it say? Touch not the unclean thing. Sanctify yourself, separate yourself. These words keep coming up in the Bible in so many other places. The Bible is simply saying there are places you don't need to be. Blessed is the man that does not walk in the counsel of the ungodly. There are places we don't need to be, or does not sit in the seat of the scornful, nor stand in the way of sinners. So there are places, because evil companionship corrupts good morals. Scripture also says, how can I say, he that walks with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Okay, and so sometimes you have to make these very deliberate choices and decisions to. I mean, let me give you a good example. Um, and this is me, and I know we are recording. I've checked myself a lot. I mean, I've had enough time to check on myself. I I like happy places. I I like happy places. I don't mind being in a place which is mournful and all that. But if I was to make a choice, I like happy places. And so while I can't control everybody around me, I try to spend the bulk and the better part of my time in happy environments. It's deliberate. Um, I'm not I'm not melancholic. I'm not melancholic and sad and pitiful and all that. I generally, and in the most natural, and I've checked myself way back from when I was a kid. I always like this kind of almost festive party, celebratory, merriment environment. Okay, I mean it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Um, I like happy songs. I I like happy songs. I enjoy laughter. Um, there are people who are rather, withdrawn, and they look very thoughtful, and stuff like that. Um, I talk to strangers a lot. My kids have always complained. And sometimes I talk to people, they don't even talk back to me, but I'm okay. I mean, as long as I'm talking, I'm happy. And yeah, you know, um, that, that's me. Um, what am I saying, people? I'm saying, if you find who you are, and you realize that somebody maybe is a wet blanket around you. There are people who are, there are people who are perpetually, continuously, nearly irreparably negative on every, I mean, front, center, and back. I mean, they're always negative. Okay? And they're always seeing life through half, they call it what? Half empty, glass of water. I mean, and And sometimes, so for me, when I'm in that kind of environment, I feel out of place. I feel out of place. Um, so I make a deliberate choice because I keep telling myself life is too short, and I need to maximize on the good which God has put in me. And so it's a choice. It's deliberate where I go, who I'm with, and yeah, yeah. So find your own space, and if you must push away some certain people, so be it. If you must spend less time with those people because sometimes you can't do away with them completely, so be it. But ultimately and eventually, I think we have to make choices so that we can maximize on those things which add to who we really are. And I just told you, I mean, I check my own life, and I think, and most of you who know me, I mean, they know, that you know, I like the happy part of life. That's who I am, you know. You know? And so, if I met somebody who is so melancholic and always, negative and borderline depressed, and everything is seen in negative, and they're full of conspiracy theories, which are always very negative, things are about to go bad. Uh, I will excuse myself. I will take a bathroom break if I have to, and then find my way out, and something like that. And something like that, you know. Of course, I'm sure those they pay. They will say things like, "You should be a realist." Things are bad. Sometimes I ask myself, "So what? If things are bad, they are bad. Yeah, granted. So what am I supposed to do about it?" Okay. I were just making a joke earlier about the departure of the Queen. I mean, you know, but we are here. I mean, they are there. We can only do so much. We can only do so much. Sometimes it's good to just choose to see life from a sunshiny angle. So 7 points. Number 7, which we finished with, was if I am habitually disrespected, abused, or abused, if my boundaries are ignored and breached, I will terminate the relationship with the abuser forthwith. Zero tolerance. Now, I know this may be difficult for some of us to do. I know that we've been raised up spiritually. This may be difficult, but it's a choice you're going to make. The truth is, you can't go with everybody where you're going. You can't travel with everybody where you're going. And sometimes you have to make choices that are purely out of self interest. Not everybody will take this because, again, like I mentioned, there's a way we were raised. Sometimes we feel we've got to carry everybody's burdens and carry everybody's, and it is good to do that. But it's also good to also take care of ourselves and realize that you can only give what you have. Okay? We can only give what we have. And if we drain ourselves, deplete ourselves, and give everything to everybody else and don't self care, then we will shrivel and waste away. There's nothing wrong in taking care of ourselves. And I keep saying this. We need to, we have to, and it is not ungodly to do so. It is important. I must say that the Christian church, and I've been in the church for a long time, we are guilty, and I put myself there. We are guilty, we in leadership. I think for the longest time, we have made our memberships feel guilty for living life and enjoying the good things of life. And I remember those early days when I got saved. I mean, salvation was supposed to be a struggle, painful, sad, and all that and all that. And I think I've come to accept that that was wrong, and there is absolutely nothing wrong in living life in a way that is enjoyable and make every attempt. I'm not saying that we become removed from the realities. No, sometimes there are realities which call for us to be, you know, even sad. It's good to feel all those emotions, but let's not allow those dull moments, be the defining moments uh, of everything. In actual fact, for everything that goes wrong in our life, there could be 10 other good things that are happening. I think it's just an issue of what are we highlighting? What are we highlighting? I think it's a choice. I choose to see, for example, we've had an election, and I choose to see a lot of good that happened in this election. I think for the first time, there were not the usual noise in the streets and demos and fights and everything else. And that's a good thing. I've even had people congratulate Kenya for showing a lot of maturity in the manner in which we handled ourselves during and after the election. There are some positives. That's not to mean that some people walked out when people were supposed to be announcing elections, and everything looked a bit bleak at that time. But all said and done, we scored highly. Not 100%, we scored highly. And let me also say this. If you are to look into your life, I mean, Chris and everybody else who I see around here, yeah, there are some downsides, and we are dealing with issues of dealing with disappointments. There are some downsides. Sometimes you've disappointed yourself and disappointed others. I mean, I know I have done that. But to be very honest, equally true also is that we've done so well with ourselves. We have done so well with ourselves. Sometimes it's just raising a good family. Sometimes it's just pursuing your education. Sometimes it's just a job you do. Maybe just the way you've managed your health, whatever it is. And I think it's good to look at all these things from that angle and make a deliberate choice to appreciate and to be positive. Of course, not losing sight that some things may require that we look at things differently, but at least make a deliberate choice to be positive and appreciative. There's always something to appreciate about. There's always something to appreciate about. Um, there's always, I mean, sometimes you get this feeling that it's very easy to be cynical. Kenyans are, then we mention something very negative, you know but this same Kenyan sometimes will shock you, they'll shock you. I mean, and I think this election, you know I mean, we behaved well. I mean, we behaved pretty well. We've done things which even those much more developed democracies are looking and saying, look, I mean, these guys have behaved very well. Okay, 100%, no, but maybe 80, maybe 90, I don't know, but we've scored high, and that's something to celebrate about. And we've done pretty well. This country has done pretty well on how we managed COVID. If you have to compare with other countries in the world, I think we've got something to be proud about. Even those of us who probably feel quite not too happy with the outgoing regime. Truth be told, I was in Nyeri on Saturday, and just sometimes we just need to drive, you know, on our Kenyan roads, and especially across the length and breadth of our countryside, to just realize that this country is not where it was 10 years ago. Like him or hate him, there are some real, tangible, you know, very visible changes on our infrastructure. I mean, our infrastructure is superb. Maybe I haven't traveled to all the places, but the places I've gone, I've seen some amazing. I was in Mombasa not too long ago. I saw amazing infrastructure, you know, amazing infrastructure. And truly, 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 there are some good things that have happened. And so we can choose to zero on those ones. We can choose to channel our attentions, because those are good things to celebrate about. Okay, even as we work on everything else, Okay, I went somewhere today and haven't been there for a long time, and I saw some very good changes. Very, very good changes. And I thought, I mean, in the midst of all the cynicism, in the midst of all the political noise, in the midst of all these things, there are some good things that are coming out of, you know, um, our country, and you have to be grateful. You have to be grateful. Sometimes we just have to look at the people around our own lives. Okay, our children, and our jobs and our businesses, even our own health, just to appreciate and be grateful. And so it's a choice, and I think one which we need to make, and it will help us remain upbeat and full of expectation. But well, if our hope is dashed, we will take it in our good stride and still manage to pull ourselves by the bootstrap, like the Englishmen say, and trudge along and move forward. So, good people, I think enough said. Think through those 7 points and study a little on what we were talking about earlier, the Stockholm Syndrome, that people become so accustomed to abuse, and until they begin to appreciate their captors for allowing them a fresh of breath air to step out, briefly. At least these days we go out for an hour. Before we used to stay in the house. I mean, you are still a prisoner and you still need, you know, and there are people who have lived with abusive others. Okay, lived with abusive others because of very small moments of small graces, very small graces. At least he gives me food. You know, we deserve better. We deserve better. And you've seen some of the reports done by some of the NGOs when people have lived with abusive husbands or abusive parents, etc., etc. And when they were asked, "Why did you take so long to, squeal or make noise?" And they will say, I wanted to, I felt, that he was clothing me or he was feeding me, or at least I was somebody's wife. And that at the risk of losing your life, you know and somebody has to come and say, hey, look, being fed or being allowed to be somebody's wife or whatever it is, should not come at the expense of being battered every day. Okay, and so that's what I'm saying. Let's not get used to abuse. I preached once, and some of you may remember, on some of the tendencies we pastors have embraced, and I was calling it pulpit excesses. Some of the things which we do which are abusive, and they're very tyrannical, and people end up living and a spell of abuse from these big men of God, all in the name, say for example, um he will. I remember one time somebody telling me something about a man of actually a man of God was telling me. I was much younger, and they were telling me that you need to align yourself, with an organization, a church, and blah blah blah. Even if they're all that and all that, because what happens if you die? Who will bury you? And I laughed. I said I will not be there. I said my family can do that very well. I mean, I cannot commit myself to an abusive relationship because I want someone to bury me with all the spiritual honors. I mean, what does that mean? What matters if somebody spills something there or has some incense there and they say all the right things? I mean, you're gone. It's over. It's done. You know. And you can imagine there are people who actually stay in abusive spiritual environments because nataka kuzikwa vizuri. Can you imagine? And somebody will ravage your finances, ravage your private life, ravage everything that matters to you, and treat you with absolute disdain. They don't like you, but they feel they have they have caught you, they're holding you at ransom because who will dedicate your children? Those kind of things. I don't even know who dedicated my children. I don't know. you know I think I did. Okay, and I think any man can do it. you know and any man, any woman, or any man can do it. Okay, I know people who have stayed in very abusive environments, spiritual environments, because if you live as it is normally said, you will not be blessed, you will not be released with some apostolic grace or something as fancy as that. Okay, and so they stay in these very abusive spaces. Some are even made to do manual jobs, and the kind of environments I'm talking about, where people literally live in a pastor's house, wash clothes, mind the kids, and stuff like that. I used to know a guy, and my wife is here, she will remember, he used to guard the pastor's car, when the service is going on. So the pastor had this car. It wasn't a very good car, actually, and he used to, if you're getting a car, that is top of the range, it was actually some, crazy contraption, nothing to write home about. I can't even tell you what make it was. Um, those cars which have got so many parts put together. Sometimes you can't tell where it started originally. And the man used to, every Sunday and every time they had a Bible study, he used to stand guard. And I was thinking, surely, you know. I mean, that's why you buy insurance, and something like that. And yeah, yeah, or a good anti-theft, whatever it is. Can you imagine somebody came to church and their job is to mind and we've seen these things. And I'm actually, the one I'm telling you are the tame ones. There are people who have gone through trauma here. People have gone through trauma in the name of, you will receive an anointing. Okay. So people clean clothes and do all sorts of things and carry people's bags, carry people's Bible everywhere, literally quit school and do all sorts of crazy things. And we have to liberate ourselves and realize that we are worthy of the good things of life. Okay, and we need to start educating people, teaching people how to treat us. So abuse can exist even in spiritual environments, and especially in those environments, because again, the word of God becomes very easy to when it is misconstrued, misrepresented. It becomes very easy for someone to use it against others in the way of abuse. So let me just put it this way. Love yourself. There's nothing wrong about it. Care for yourself. There's nothing wrong about it. Absolutely nothing wrong about it. Like what you like. Like what you like. It's you. It's you. If an environment makes you feel uncomfortable, tense, and you always have to keep defending yourself and explaining yourself why you laughed or why you're happy, I mean, just walk away. That's not your environment. You know, the people who start with us, not all who will end with us. So we are allowed to change along the way. Maybe you're not meant for it. I had a friend, and I talk about him a lot when I'm using this example. My wife knows the person very well. He was irreparably negative. For some reason, that guy knew all the scriptures, which was very negative. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. Um, so when you come and meet him and you're jolly and happy and excited and all of it is, and you're maybe talking, say, football, okay? Some of us will have, some of our vanities is like we like following the EPL, for example. And you would come to him and say, "Oh, by the way, did you watch the ball?" And the man would say, "Let no word that come from you, every word that comes from your mouth should be to build and to edify the saints." And then he would start questioning, what has that which you have just said edified me? And I'm thinking, okay, my guy, we're just talking about, you know. And before long, I found myself extremely, you see him have to keep quiet because anything you say, he will say, "Let there be no coarse jestings amongst you," and then he will quote Ephesians somewhere. Oof, okay. Whatever you do in word or in, you say in word or in, must be okay. So, okay. Now what? So whenever you meet with him, you have to either be you meet with a guy, you create a sermon or something. You say, "What do you think, sir, about fasting and prayer?" And something like that. And you couldn't be relaxed around him. You couldn't be yourself. Um, so in those early days, and I was far much younger, I deliberately chose to avoid him because I actually felt like if I was so constricted around him, I felt like if I was being stifled of air. It's like somebody is choking you. Okay, and I began to avoid him because I felt he was overdoing it. I mean, I agree that those are scriptures in the Bible, but also agreed. I also knew that he was overdoing it. Okay, he was overstretching it. He was overstretching it. That there's nothing wrong in being happy, and there's nothing wrong in talking, you know, politics or football or food or whatever it is, or relationships, you know. But he had a way of just making everything come out gloom and doom. Okay, and I think other people took the cue and started, avoiding him, and he kind of, you know, changed. He actually changed. He actually changed, and became a very good man. So, yeah. So we teach people how to treat us. That's what we're trying. I mean, that's what we're saying. So, elections, losing, winning, let's all heal. And moving forward, let's take these pointers. Are they pointers? Principles. Principles, better word. Let's take these principles to help us when we are dealing with times and moments of disappointments, loss, because it will come. Thank you, guys. God bless you.